So the footage of the unaliving of Sonya Massey has just been released. At the time of this video, it was released yesterday on July 22nd. Sonya Massey was unalived by Illinois cop Sean Grayson. I noticed that a lot of police officers, they use excessive force with people that are unarmed. I noticed that when somebody is actually armed, a lot of these police officers show you how they would really react if their life was truly in danger. I want to start with the Uvalde school situation where there was an active assaultant on the school campus. Uvalde police were showered with AR-15 fire. It grazed two officers' heads, and they decided that they was gonna cut tail and run. They're human beings. They naturally have fear. It's okay. However, Uvalde mother Angeli Rose Gomez arrived at the scene to take matters into her own hands, and she successfully saved both her sons and a good amount of their classmates. Now, when she got to the scene, she wanted to go into the school immediately and save her two sons. But do you know what the police officers did? They arrested her. She had to beg them and say, hey, look, I'm gonna calm down, just let me go. Once they let her go, she did what an actual real hero would do, and she ran in there to save those kids. She actually has alleged since then that these police officers have been harassing her. They've been outside her house and trying to intimidate her, right? This happened in 2022. It got to a point where she had to move away from her sons because she didn't want her sons to have to live in fear of police officers. That woman's only crime was doing what the police were too afraid to do. 19 children were unalived and 2 teachers were unalived. Now, why didn't the police officers run in there to save those kids, right? Why was it so easy for them to arrest Ms. Gomez? Ask yourself. It's because Ms. Gomez didn't have an AR-15 and they were afraid. Now, that's not the only time that this happened. There's other times. Stoneman Douglas High School, at the Post nightclub in Orlando, Florida, and even the Sandy Hook tragedy. When I was living in North Carolina, they had a situation with an active shooter. I remember me and my brother, we went to go work out, and for about an hour straight, we heard cop cars speeding down the road. It was an obscene amount of backup that these guys had called for. And when we finally realized what happened, apparently police tried to serve a man a warrant. This was on CNN. The guy's name escapes me right now, but the police tried to serve him a warrant. This guy decides that he is going to unalive 4 of the police officers and injure another 4. This one man was able to take out 4 officers and injure 4 others. The amount of backup that was called was so insane, right? Not only did they call for this backup, they didn't actually take this guy out until this guy walked out of his home armed. So even with all that backup, they didn't bust in there like John McClane. They didn't bust in there like it was a Bad Boys movie. They waited. They planned. They had caution. And do you know why? Because the man had weapons and the man was fighting back. Now, that just means one thing, that police officers are human, okay? There's a couple things that I want to say with that. Number 1, mental illness. Number 2, fear. Number 3, superiority complex, okay? A lot of these officers are dealing with mental health issues just like every other human being that's in this world right now, okay? A lot of them are dealing with superiority complex. Being a police officer is actually the profession with one of the highest divorce rates, right? In all professions, right? There's intense mental issues going on. That being said, these guys sometimes take their anger out on people. They want to prove that they're superior by being a bully and having a punching bag. So it's so easy to unalive Sonya Massey because she doesn't have an AR-15, okay? She isn't somebody that's an active shooter. So that's a punching bag that don't punch back. Now, am I trying to make, some of these guys that have unalived police officers into heroes? No, but I bring up Eric Garner. Eric Garner was literally going through going through California. Eric Garner was going through California on a murder spree, okay? He unalived a few police officers until it got to a point where they chased him, I think, to some type of cabin in the woods, all right? The story happened a long time ago. If you guys want to know about Eric Garner, please look it up. Now, they didn't go into the forest guns blazing like they do in the movies. What'd they do? What did they do? They sent an airstrike. They sent drones to literally burn him out of the forest. Why did they do that? Because they were afraid. So when people are actually afraid, what do? Do they automatically take out their firearm like it's a Western? No. In fact, during the Uvalde shooting, one of the officers said, we can't just bulge in there or bust in there like it's a Western. That's what they said. And they're right, because who wants to bust in, guns blazing, with an active shooter? So now I'm going back to Miss Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey called the police because she felt, or she thought, that somebody might have been in her backyard. She heard some noises. So who do you call when things will go bump in the night? You call who they tell you to call. You call the police, and the police show up there. And the first thing that I noticed that Sean Grayson asked her is, hey, why did it take you so long to answer the door? I think that she replied, like maybe she was getting dressed or whatever the reason was. But according to Sean Grayson, she took too long to answer the door. So you could tell that he was already a little bit annoyed by that. Fast forward through the video, and they're in her house. They're asking her for her ID, right? She's searching through this bag, and I guess she's not moving fast enough. Apparently, these guys were so impatient with her that they just wanted her to move at the speed of light. So something happens where Sean Grayson instructs the woman to go and take a pot of boiling water off of the stove. And that is where everything went wrong. She goes to get the pot off the stove. They're talking about the boiling water, and she says something about that she rebukes him in the name of Jesus, right? He automatically, completely flips out and says, put the pot down. He automatically starts to freak out to the point where he unfortunately uses fatal force against Miss Sonya Massey. He unalives her, okay? Because he claimed that he was afraid for his life with a pot of water. A pot of boiling water, but a pot of water. So, those are Uvalde police. What did they do when they was in fear of their lives from AR-15 fire? They turned around and they ran. What did they do in Sandy Hook, or in the Post Club in Orlando, or many other active shooting situations? They planned and they waited for backup. But oh my gosh, Sonya Massey has a pot of boiling water. Now it's time for them to be John McClane. They're just a regular Bruce Willis. One thing that I do want to know, and I ended on this, I want to know which candidate is going to use this to fuel their campaign run. Now, whether it's Kamala, if she gets nominated, or whether it's Trump, right? I don't think that any African American person should take anything that they have to say seriously unless they're talking about deep police reform or coming up with new ways that black people or just any citizen that's going through police brutality can actually lawfully protect themselves.